Hello there and welcome back to another episode of our Luminar NEO Academy, the show where we help you to get the most out of this photo editing application. Now, if you've never been here before, my name is Jakub and I'm a creator and founder here at Clever Photographer. Now, before we going to start, I have a few things I want to cover. First of all, at the end of the video, I'm gonna give you access to our popular Luminar NEO shortcut cheat sheet, so you make sure that you stay until the end. Also, if you don't own Luminar NEO or the HDR Merge plugin, get our discount code to get the best possible price, and you can find it in the description of this video. Finally, I would like to ask you to please like, comment and share on this video, and also don't forget to subscribe to our channel so we can keep creating content like this. In today's video, I'm gonna show you how to reduce the low light noise in landscape photos. Now, to do this, we're gonna be using this sample file, which you can download yourself and follow me along. All you need to do is to jump into the description of the video, follow the link there and head into our Dropbox account where you can download the file. Once you have it, simply use the Add Photos option in Luminar NEO, click on it, then locate the file and add it. Once you do that, you should have the same view as I have on the screen right now. So as you can see, I am in Luminar NEO and I am in the catalog module. We are already looking at the sample file, and before we gonna move into the edit module, let me tell you a little bit more about it. So I recently returned from the cruise around Europe, and one of the stops was in Rotterdam in Netherlands. Now the cruise ship was docked on the river and I had this incredible view of the Erasmus Bridge and the downtown, together with the skyline. It's a really nice capture. It was kind of later on during the day, almost heading towards the blue hour. The light was already low, and as you can see, the lights around, including the bridge, were already getting on. So a really nice atmosphere. However, it was starting to get darker and I had two options here. One would be to use the tripod, which you can't really do when you're standing on a cruise ship, as the ship is actually constantly moving. Even when it's docked in a port, it's constantly moving, so tripod wasn't an option. So the second option was to use a higher ISO, which, as you will see in a moment, wasn't really that high. However, as it was low light situation, I end up with a lot of noise. Now let's look at the information about this specific RAW file. To do that, we are still in catalog module and we will navigate towards the right side of the screen where we have the main toolbar. Here you can see the information about the file, you can see the name of the file, you can see that I captured it with auto white balance, you can also see the lens I used, it was 12 to 24mm f4, and now a little bit of information about how I capture it. So I was on 13mm, f4, 1/10 of the second on a shutter speed, and I use ISO 200. So looking at it like this, you can already see the noise a little bit. However, when we zoom in, you can really see the noise a lot, especially in the areas of the sky and also the darker parts of the image. So that's the thing with the low light noise. Even though I'm not using as high ISO, nothing like 2000 or 2500, however, with the 200 and in this situation, you will still get a fair bit of noise on your image. So how are we gonna fix it? Well, we have to take the image and move it into edit module first. To do that, simply click on the edit on the top of the screen or hit E on your keyboard. This image is also a great example where we're gonna be editing a RAW file, so let's go through it step by step. So as always, with the RAW file, the first thing we need to do with it is to develop it. So before we're gonna move into any other tools, we need to start with the develop RAW tools. You can recognize them with little RAW sign at the end of them, just like here with the develop RAW, or if you have one of the extensions, the Noiseless RAW is also part of the development tools. Additionally, you can also use the crop, and we're gonna start with that. So let's navigate towards our main toolbar and click on a Crop AI tool. Click on it to open it, and the first thing we need to do is to set our ratio. So click on the gray drop-down box and turn it into 16:9 to create nice panoramic crop. Once you do that, the crop will adjust, and now we can use the little white handles to adjust the location of our crop. So let's adjust it. When you hover over it, you can then adjust the crop and its position, and I think just something like this is looking quite good. We're gonna use the rule of third to our advantage and place the bridge on the connection of these little lines here. Now looking at the image and the buildings, they are tilting a little bit, so maybe we can rotate it here. To do that, just hover outside of the cropping area and your mouse will turn into these arrows. Now you can just press or click and basically just rotate the image around. We will do a little bit more of that in the Developer tool, so don't worry about it, but maybe just a little bit just to help us for the future. So something like this is good. Still adjust the crop a little bit. I think something like this. And once we're happy, what we can do, we can hit enter on our keyboard or click apply on the crop AI tool. Once you do that, the crop is applied and we can continue. The next step is to go into the Developer tool. Again, it's located in an Essentials section, so just click on it to open it and we're gonna start here. The first place I want you to go into is the optics. So head into the optics and here just make sure that each of the 3 checked buttons is checked. This way we make sure that we adjust the auto distortion correction, auto fix chromatic aberration, and auto def range. Once we close the optics, we are done with it, we can move into the transform tab. In the transform tab, we have the auto align option, and then we have 3 sliders: vertical, horizontal, and aspect. The auto will not work on this image because there is not enough places to use. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna try to use the vertical slider to maybe adjust it a little bit more. We can go one way and see what it does. And that's not really great. So let's go the other way. And I think usually somewhere around -4 for this lens looks quite good. I think -4 or maybe even just -3. Let's have a look. I think that's much better. And once we're done with this, we can just close the transform tab and continue. So far we have done optics and transform. Now the next thing we need to do is to take care of the sharpness and noise. To do that, always first thing you want to do is to zoom in to at least 100%. To do that, you can navigate towards the bottom of your screen, click on a zoom shortcut here and just select the 100%. Now you have a little handle and you can just move around the image. So as I told you earlier, most of the noise is in the sky and in the darker areas of the image. So this is a great position where we can start. Now let's open the noise reduction tab and sharpness in the Developer tool and let's see what we can do here. First thing first, let's have a look at the noise. So usually you start by adjusting the luminosity slider. Here, I never really like to go any further than 20 or 25. So let's go to 20 and see if we can see the difference. Now I don't know if you can see it on the video, but it did pretty decent job. The problem with the luminosity slider is that it also removes the sharpness. Looking at the image, there is not much of a color noise here as there is not much color of the image, so I don't worry too much about the color noise slider. So once I'm happy here with the luminosity, I'm on 20, I can move my attention towards the sharpness. In the sharpness, since I know that my luminosity is on 20, I will use the rule of 100. So just imagine the number 100 and then minus the amount you entered on luminosity. So 100 minus 20 is 80. And that's how much I want you to enter into the sharpen slider. So let's go into the 80 and see how well it does. And actually it did a really good job bringing back the sharpness into the building. Unfortunately, it also brings some of the noise back. And what we can do additionally here is to use the masking. So at this point, when we have added the sharpening, it applied the sharpness everywhere, into the sky, into the water, on the building, and we don't want that. We just want the sharpening to be applied to the areas with the edges and with the details. So for that, we're gonna use the masking slider, and generally somewhere around 60 to 70 works very well here. So we're basically telling to the computer, apply the sharpening only to the areas where there are edges, details, and texture. So it did pretty good job. This is quite good balance. Of course, the noise is still there. However, I wanted to show you how to do this because if you don't have the Noiseless RAW or Noiseless AI extension, this is the way you would do it. So what we have done, we have applied noise reduction in a noise reduction tab. Then we have worked with the sharpness to bring some of the sharpness back. And then we made sure that we only sharpening the areas with the edge with the use of masking slider. Once we finish here, we will then continue with the development. We will start from the top by going into the camera profile, where you can choose which camera profile you prefer. For me, I'm quite happy with the Luminar default, so I leave it. However, depending on the camera you're using, there may be some other options, and you can go through them and see what works the best for you. So we can close the camera profile, and for now, let's open the light and blacks and white. We can also zoom out and continue. We don't worry about the exposure at the moment, but we can bring some of the contrast into the image. So let's go somewhere around maybe 15. And then with the highlights, you want to bring them down as much as you want. You see, when we bring down the highlights, we also bring in more details and texture into the sky, and I quite like that. So I think just somewhere around -80 is looking great. Now, when you push these sliders, and especially the shadow slider, you will bring some of the noise back. So specifically with the shadow slider, I want you to be careful and just add how much you think is necessary. Again, just be careful there. Also, by bringing and opening more shadows, you will see that we're making the image more brighter, and that's not necessarily the look we are looking for. So let's just bring it down to somewhere around 20 again, maybe even 15, and leave it there. Now we need to adjust the blacks and whites. Now to do that, what we want to do is to hit J on our keyboard, and that way we will bring on the clipping mask. Clipping mask will show you the areas which are completely burned or completely dark. Let me show you what I mean by that. So when I go into the black slider and bring it all the way down, you will see that some areas will turn blue. And the blue overlay or the blue clipping mask is telling me that those areas are now completely black. So we don't want that. So we need to bring the black slider back until all the blue disappear. There's still a little bit under the bridge. So let's just go somewhere around -10. We can have a little bit of blue, it's not a problem, however, not too much. Similarly, with the whites, when I increase it, you will see that we will start to get this red overlay. Now, these areas with the red in them are completely burned, they are completely white, and if you would want to print this image, those areas would have no details at all. So let's just go back, bring it down. Again, somewhere maybe around 20 is looking good. Now don't forget that the blacks and whites, just like the rest of the sliders, needs to be used in a connection of the look you are looking for. So even though we can increase the white slider, we are not looking for the bright look, so that's why we're gonna go just for 20. Now we can close the blacks and whites, we can close the light, and we can continue with the other options. We're not gonna use curves for this edit, so we can move into the color section. Here you can adjust the white balance, but for us we're gonna leave it, and we just adjust the saturation and vibrance. I want you to bring the saturation down a little bit because I'm looking for quiet moody look, and just counterpart it with a little bit of vibrance. Now just very quickly, the difference between the saturation and vibrance is that the saturation slider adjusts the saturation across the entire image, where the vibrance only takes the tones that are a little bit tuned down and increase the saturation in them. So basically, vibrance is a smarter saturation slider. So maybe even 15 looks quite good. And once we're down here, we can close the color tab, and we are done with the basic development. I know it's not looking great yet, but don't worry, we are nowhere finished. So let's just close it, and we're gonna continue. Now, before we're gonna jump into the other tools and start to focus on the overall look of the image, I also wanna touch on using the Noiseless AI or Noiseless RAW extension, because many of you have it, and really when I capture images like this with maybe even higher ISO, there will come a point where I will require additional tool in order to remove the noise. So in our case, for Luminar NEO, we have the Noiseless AI extension, so let's try to use it. Now once again, let's just zoom in and let's have a look at the sky. So you can see that there is still noise there. It's a little bit better because we have tackled it through the develop raw tool. However, since we have it, let's use the noiseless raw or noiseless AI extension. So just zoom out. Let's go back into our main toolbar, and this time we're going to be navigating towards our extensions. In the extensions, open the Noiseless RAW, and if you haven't used this tool before, I have a full tutorial available on our YouTube channel, and I will make sure that I will link the tutorial to the corner of your screen now. However, just very basically, when you open it, you will get an advice on how much of the noiseless AI you want to apply to the image. In our case, it's suggesting low, so let's select the low, click on it, and wait for the AI to scan the image and then apply the noise reduction to it. Once the tool is finished, it will zoom you in to 100%, just like we done earlier, and now you can navigate around and see the difference. And actually, I think it did a very decent job. We can have a look at the before by clicking on the little eye icon in the top right corner of the tool and see the after, and I think the difference is very good. Now, if you want, you can use any of the additional tools and sliders here and fine-tune the result to what you like. However, for us, I think this is more than enough. We can now close the tool, zoom out, and start to focus on the overall look of the image. So the first thing we're going to be focusing on is the color or the color correction. For that, the first tool I would use is still in our Essentials section, and it's very simply the color tool. Click on it to open it, and let's see what we have here. We have our saturation slider, vibrance, then we have the remove color cast slider here, and then we have the full HSL panel. For the moment, let's close it. And we already adjusted the saturation and vibrance in our Develop Raw tool. So all I want you to do here is just play around with the remove color cast, which really helps to remove some of the unwanted color casts created maybe with some of the artificial light or some additional elements. So usually I like to go somewhere around maybe 20 and leave it there. The next thing I want to do is I want to use the HSL panel. What I'm planning to do for the overall look is to really bring the colors down, bring the blues and the magenta down, and really just have almost monochrome picture with the warmth of the light. For that, what I want you to do is to click on the gray drop-down box and make sure the saturation is selected. Now, as I told you, first we have the 3 warm colors which we want to bring up a little bit. So maybe just somewhere around 15 or 20 to start with. And then after that, we're going to bring everything down. Maybe not so much with the green, but with the cyan, let's go somewhere around -70 to start with. Same with the blue, same with the purple, and same with the magenta. Now looking at it, maybe that's a little bit too much. So let's just bring them up a little bit and see what we like the most. And looking at it, let's say somewhere around 35, I think, is looking good. Let's bring back the green, maybe still a little bit more of the blue. And really looking at it, when you push it around, maybe somewhere around -20 to -30 is looking good for me. Once I'm happy, I can close the HSL panel, I can close the color tab, and we're gonna continue. Now we are not done with the color adjustments. There are some other tools we can use, and the next one we're gonna be using is the mood tool. So for that, let's go into our creative section and click on the mood tool. The mood tool very simply uses the LUTs to color correct your image. So let's just quickly click on the choose LUT button. And for this example, we're gonna use LUT which comes with the application. So you don't need to do anything other than going in the cinematic toning. And for the blue hour, I usually like to use either the San Diego or Santa Barbara. So let's have a look at the San Diego and see what that does. What it does, it turns the image to this strong blue hour. I quite like it, but let's try the other one as well. So again, click on the drop-down box, navigate towards the cinematic toning, and let's see the Santa Barbara. And actually, I like that one a little bit more. If I would like the effect to be a little bit stronger, what I can do is I can increase the amount slider in the mood tool and see the result I like. However, I think somewhere around 30 is good. So once we're happy, just like always, click on the top of the tool, close it, and apply it to the image. So the color tool and the mood tool are the first two tools I use to color correct and color adjust the image to get the effect I am looking for. After this, we can look at some of the special effect tools. So for example, looking at the image, I would like to add a little bit of a drama to it. So for this, we can use the tool called Dramatic. Once again, in the creative section, just click on it to open it and then play around with the amount slider to see what you like. When I bring the slider really high, you can see that it's get over the top. It's not really great. So we're just gonna do it very gently. And I think just somewhere around maybe 10 is more than enough. We can always double check the before and after by using the little eye icon in the top right corner of the tool. If you want to see the complete before and after to see where you started and where you are now, you can navigate to the bottom of your screen and there is the same eye there. Just click on it and see the before and after, including all the tools and effects you already applied. Now we are done with the dramatic tool, so we can close it and let's continue with some additional effects. What we can also do, we can add a little bit of matte tone to it. So let's open the matte tool and add additional fade to the overall look. So let's just bring the amount up to, let's say, 15. And if we want to add additional fade, we can just touch the fade slider gently and add something like 5. Once we finish here, again, close it. And usually I like to apply a little bit of the mystical tool. I think it makes it a little bit more natural. And for this cinematic look, I think it just works very well. So again, open the mystical tool and bring it to somewhere around 10. Now, once we finish with the mystical tool, again, close it, apply it, and this is us pretty much done with a special effect. Now, what would be my next step? My next step would be to create contrast with the use of local adjustment tools. The most basic local adjustment tool to use is the vignette. For this, we need to go again back to the top of our main toolbar and open the vignette tool. Here we can just bring the amount down and make the outside of the image or the edges of the image a little darker. So keep an eye on it. I think just somewhere around 40 or minus 40 is looking quite good. And we can create even deeper contrast with this by going into the advanced setting and increasing the inner light slider and bringing some additional light into the center of the image. If you're not happy about where the vignette is centered, all you need to do is to go back to the tool, click on Choose Subject, and then just click where you want the vignette to be centered. So in our case, just around the downtown here. Once we finish, click on Choose Subject again and close the vignette tool. After this, I would like to remove some of the attention from the water here. So for this, we're gonna go back to the Essential Tools, open the Develop tool, go into the Light section, and bring the exposure down a little bit. Just somewhere around maybe minus 0.20 or 23. After this, we're gonna go into the Masking, and we're gonna use the Linear Gradient. Click on it to open it, and now just drag it and basically close the image from the bottom to create and add a little bit of darkness to the bottom of your image. So just something like this. Once we're happy, we can go back to the adjustments. And in the adjustments, we can now play around with the exposure and create a really nice darker effect to the bottom of the screen. Once we're done with this, just adjust it a little bit more. Again, close it and apply. And we are pretty much done. Now looking at the image, I think it's a little bit too bright for me, so we can go back into the Edit tab and here jump quickly into the Develop Raw tool. So when you open it, it will bring everything back to the beginning, and here in the exposure, I just want to bring it down a little bit, let's say to somewhere around minus 20. Now when I again click on the Enhance AI on the top, it will apply all the adjustments just with a little bit of the minus exposure. Now I think we are really finished. However, if you would want to, you could go back into the tools and continue using any of the additional tools here in Luminar NEO to enhance the image even further. And there you have it. If you want a copy of our popular Luminar NEO shortcut cheat sheet, there is nothing easier than heading to our website cleverphotographer.com/LuminarGive. While you're there, you can also check out one of our popular Luminar NEO products, or you can stay here and watch more videos about Luminar NEO. For today, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please make sure that you like, comment, and share on this video. And also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so we can keep creating content like this. For today, thank you very much for watching. My name was Jakub, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.